Hello, my name is Hannah and I will be discussing one way to teach budgeting to grade 3s. During my placement, we were discussing farming and social studies and I asked if any students had a garden. Only one of them raised their hand and I was shocked, and I began to consider how I could teach the practical knowledge of gardening within the classroom. Later, when I began to consider how to teach students about budgeting, I remembered that moment and decided to tackle both challenges at once. Thus, the seed was planted for the project you'll be learning about in the next 3.5 minutes, the Classroom Garden Project. This project is focused on the planning and creation of a classroom garden. The project consists of 3 major portions: planning and creating the structure that will hold the plants, considering what will be included in the garden, and creating the garden itself. Prior to the beginning of the project, fundraising, parent support, grants, and community involvement must be considered. The best part of this project is that the garden doesn't have to actually physically be created if funding is not possible. That being said, it's also quite versatile in that it provides students with opportunities to broaden their financial literacy through learning about saving, raising funds, in addition to meeting the needs of a budget. Part 1. Planning the structure of the garden. The beginning portion of this unit will surround considering structures and what makes them strong and stable. After investigating various structures and looking at the materials that can be used, students will be challenged to create a proposal for a garden structure as their culminating activity. This proposal must include what materials will be used and why, the measurements, a diagram, and last but not least, a working budget addressing the cost of their proposed structure. Students will be given a set amount of money to work with and will have to create a budget that will allow them to build their structure as well as have some leftover money for unexpected costs. Students will be instructed to consider types of materials to use and the varying cost of those materials. Part of the criteria for their proposals is that they must stay within their budget. After completing these proposals, students will come together and create one final one as a class. Following this, the students can put their plan into action and the budget to the test as they build the structure for their future garden. Part 2. Considering soil and plants. The next 2 sections of the project will address what plants and what soils to use in the class garden. Through experimentation, students will investigate plants, how they grow, and various kinds of soil available. After considering these, students will then be challenged to create a proposal explaining what they want to put in the garden and why. As part of this, students will need to create yet another budget plan for their chosen plants. Like before, students will be given a set amount of money to work with and will need to stay within their budget. For an extra challenge, students can also be required to include certain plants within their garden. Following this assignment, the class will collaborate together and determine what seeds and plants they will include in their class garden. Part 3. Creating the garden. The class will then obtain their materials and create their garden, all while updating and sticking to their budget. This project covers many subjects including science, math, and language, and can be adapted to fit into many others, such as social studies, health, and even art. The project can be extended to have students sell the items that they grow and start their budget for the following year to continue to help the garden thrive. They're learning to create a budget and then stick to it in order to obtain a goal that they have set. This project will get students excited to learn and will engage them as they are challenged and encouraged to take ownership of their work and attain their goals. I'm so excited to one day put this plan into action, and I hope I have inspired at least one other person to do the same. Thank you so much for your time.
Created using Powtoon.